Good Sunday morning, and welcome to the Crossroads on this morning. Danielle is already in real form. Y'all see her? She's smiling and she's happy. I'm assuming that she's a happy joy this morning, full of joy. And that's a good thing because he said in his presence, he said, there is a fullness of joy.
Amen.
Welcome and blessings to you on this morning here from the Crossroads. Just grateful to be in your presence again. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for turning us on. Praying that you will stay in tune to the teaching on this morning. I really and truly want everyone that's listening. I come from the NIV. I read the NIV. I was a King James Version reader for, oh my goodness, from the time I was saved up until I'm going to just say the pandemic. Seriously. So that's been well over, my son's almost 30 years old, so that's been well over. I've been in King James from whenever I knew that there was a Bible, let's say it like that, up until the pandemic. But now I do read the NIV, and I'm going to say that what I'm going to be coming from in the reading that I'm going to be giving to you on today, it will be coming from the NIV version. I want you to get your swords, your word, your seed, and Constitution, yes. And I want you to go to Genesis, the 31st chapter. And before I start to tell you, we're going to be dealing with your worth on this morning. Your worth. And let me read this first because I thank God for the late doctor, prophet, coach, friend, son, Dr. Antonio Hurt. I thank God so much for Tony, and although he's resting, God has still allowed his words still rings. Yes. Oh my goodness. And see, that's what people don't understand. People don't understand that what makes you great is what you give out from your purpose in life. And after you're gone, you're still being talked about. That's what it is. That's what it's all about. It's not about you trying to be great here. Okay. Come on, somebody.
All right.
Man, it's all good this morning. The late, great Dr. Antonio Hurt. I'm so grateful for him on this morning.
Amen.
Whenever he was incarcerated here at Maxwell Federal Prison, I used to go in on Thursday nights and I would preach to nothing but men. And Tony would write. He would write me, and I was going through some things because I have all the letters that he's written me, but I was going through this morning, and the Lord brought him back to my spirit, and I went back to the letter, and I've got to read. I'm not reading the letter, but I have to read just what he highlighted for me on the side of the letter that he sent to me, that he gave to me. He said, your calling is so much deeper than you can imagine. You have deep roots. Now sprout out. Then he said, my prayer is that you stay in the high realm and give it to us just like he gives it to you. Real stories and all. That's the faith. He said, you are more apostolic than you can imagine or know. It's not about doctrine. It's about relationship.
Amen.
He said, thanks for everything. Blessings upon you. Now, those were just the little things that he wrote to me on the very sideline. That's not the letter.
Okay.
That's not the letter. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
So, with that being said on this morning, I thank the Lord for him. I thank God because Tony was a pusher.
Yes.
He was a pusher. He was a primer. If you wanted to lay down and die, he kicked you until you got back up. And he made you go on.
Yes, he did.
That's who he was. That's what was needed.
Yeah.
That was his purpose. That was a part of his purpose. And I'm just saying all of that this morning to say this. I did not know that kingdom was right in my midst at the time that he lived.
Amen.
Until now after he's gone.
Mm-hmm.
And Tony got me out of a lot of the church ways. And he allowed me, and he made it so clear for me to be able to not only to see kingdom, but to be able to partake in kingdom without being criticized, because kingdom is not criticism. It has nothing to do with that. Kingdom is a culture. Oh, I can't get into that just yet, but let me just say, I'm so grateful for him on today, and where I'm about to go and where I'm about to take you. I thank God for Hannah. She is, I asked her to pray this morning before we came on. And Hannah said that this word is for everybody. And it is. Whenever she said it, and I thought about it, it is for everybody. It has always been for everybody. But this morning especially, this is for everybody. Let me start on this morning. I can remember whenever I was in the pulpit in the pews, and I think it was on my 8th appreciation service, there was a bishop that gave me the theme for that particular year. And it came out of the book of Genesis, and it was dealing with Hagar and Abraham and Sarah and Isaac and Ishmael. And it was dealing with the fact of the matter that Ishmael was teasing Isaac, and Sarah caught wind of it, and she made Abraham send Hagar away to take Ishmael and to leave, because Isaac was the promise, but Ishmael was the firstborn from Abraham. Being that Sarah thought that she could not bear children, she gave her handmaiden, which was Hagar, over to Abraham to sleep with, and Ishmael was born. Well, whenever Ishmael started teasing Isaac, as I said, Sarah had Abraham to send Hagar and Ishmael off. Hagar goes to a place and she runs out of the food and she runs out of the water. And listen, the word then tells you that the angel of the Lord came to Hagar and told Hagar had already separated herself from Ishmael because she said she could not stand to see the sight to see her son die. So, but Ishmael was crying. And the word says that the angel of the Lord came to Hagar and told Hagar, he said, that the Lord has heard, not her cry, but he heard Ishmael's cry. And he allowed her to look off and to see water. And so therefore she was able to get the water and to supply the water that was needed for Ishmael and for them to live. And what this bishop told me that the theme was for me for that year was eyes open, souls filled. Now I didn't know that would stick with me throughout my life living, because there's not a week or there's not a month, I'll say, a month that goes by that does not come back up in me. And I say, even in prayer, that's just how much is a part of me. Eyes open, souls filled. And with me saying that, being in the church and pastoring and preaching, we were basically always taught that, of course, church and state was separate, and then, we just needed to focus on the church. But I come to find out and to realize that Jesus, they didn't want us really to be mixing and intermixing in politics and the things of the world. But as I said, I find out that Jesus was the greatest politician that ever lived. Jesus went into all the world systems. I'm telling you, he did. He went into their education system and he educated them about the kingdom. He went into their health care system. He healed them.
All right.
So that they would not need Obamacare.
Okay.
Yeah. He went into the economy. He went into their economic system. And Jesus provided everything that was needed for the economy so that there would not be a need for welfare. Okay. He went into their security system. He went into every system. And when he went into every one of the systems, he influenced He brought kingdom into those systems. He was there to do something different than what was being done.
Right.
And he did it. Okay? But we were always told, keep that stuff separate.
Right.
But no, but that's not what, and I think that's what why a lot of people don't really have the understanding of, or grasp the knowledge of the kingdom culture, is because we've been in a system, and we've lived in a system for so long that we've been acclimated to it, adapted to it, and then others now are coming in to be adapted and being acclimated into this world's system. But kingdom, you have to be adopted. You can't adapt. You have to be adopted into this system. So by saying all of this, let me ask. A lot of us always say that we know our worth. We always say that we know who we are, and we know whose we are. Well, I'm just going to challenge you on this morning. I'm not going to say that you don't, because I believe that them that do, I believe that then you're in your proper place. By your knowing, then you have adapted to what you know, adopted who it is you needed, and then you're living that particular life or that lifestyle. But the scripture, let me go back and just say, I think it was on Wednesday of last week, upon my rising, when I woke up, all I heard God say was, "You've changed my worth." That I immediately got up, sat up in my bed, got my Constitution, because I sleep with it. It's okay. I sleep with it on my bed, and I don't just sleep with it. I open it up and I read it. But it was right near. It was near me, and I opened it up and I went to the Word, because I thought today that we were going to be talking about Jacob and how his name was changed. To tell you, that you have to be able to hold on until the change comes. But that's coming. That's coming. But I want you to know this morning that the change is already here.
Amen.
The change is already here. So I have to give this to you just as God gave it to me when I picked up the Constitution. And I want you to go with me. I'm in Genesis, the 31st chapter. I'm going to read down to verse 42. And then I'm going to come back up, and then I'm going to explain what it is, so you can understand or see whether or not you truly do know your word. It says, "I have been with you for 20 years now. Your sheep and goats have not miscarried, nor have I eaten rams from your flocks. I did not bring you animals torn by wild beasts. I bore the loss myself. And you demanded payment from me for whatever was stolen by day or night. This was my situation. The heat consumed me in the daytime and the cold at night, and sleep fled from my eyes. It was like this for 20 years. I was in your household. I worked for you for 14 years for your 2 daughters and 6 years for your flocks. And you changed my wages 10 times. If the God of my father, the God of Abraham, and the fear of Isaac had not been with me, you would surely have sent me away empty-handed, I'm sorry. But God has seen my hardship and the toil of my hands, and last night he rebuked you."
Okay. All right.
Verse 41, it says, "You have changed my wages 10 times. God gave that to me because he said, your wages is your worth. Listen closely. So many people have been saying so many things about race. But let me tell you this. Let me give it to you just like God gave it to me, and I'm not making. I'm just like Tony said. You know, I'm giving it to you like He gave it to me, and I'm just going to give you. It's not a story. This is real. You've been colored. You've been a Negro. You've been black. You've been African American, and now Mr. Joe Biden says that you are now Black Americans. They have changed your worth.
My God.
How many times?
All right.
How long has it been since you have done the work, known the work, put in the work? How long has it been that you have been oppressed, depressed, suppressed? How long? And just in case, because all of last night, all of yesterday, my internet was out. So I don't know what the system is going to do this morning, but you know what? I'm going to give it just like God gave it to me. How many times have they changed your worth? See, what they did was just change your identity.
Trying to give you an identity crisis.
Yes.
Trying to confuse you.
And you're already in an identity crisis.
My God.
Because they see and know your worth.
All right. Come on.
And they see and know your worth to them. Somebody better hear me this morning. Changing your worth or your identity keeps you paying debts you did not incur. Come on. It's in here. It's in Genesis. I'm only telling you, and he put it because Genesis is the book of beginnings.
Right.
I want you to understand how it is you began. See, you were better. What you did and what you had was what you gave them. Let's go back to Esau and Jacob just for a minute. Just for a minute. The birthright was sold by word of mouth. He didn't have to pay money for it because, see, the worth was already in the birthright.
Right.
So he sold it just by saying, if you give me something to eat, I will give you. He said, I'll give you something to eat, but you got to give me your birthright. And it was sold just by word of mouth. This that happened, it happened because you had the worth. You are worth. You had the worth in you, and you gave that over. You being such the people that you are, it's in your nature. Because you're from God, it's in your nature to be loving. It's in your nature to be giving. It's in your nature to share. But you just didn't know who you were loving, sharing, and giving all of your worth to. He said it's for 20 years. How long has it been? We're not even counting. This is not a history lesson. This is a beginning lesson. They know your value. And they hold the bonds. And by changing your identity, the bonds they hold holds your worth. Now that's a Selah moment right there. Just sit there and kind of simmer in that. And you ask me, well, what are you talking about? What's my bond? I've already told you it's still here in the beginning, in the book of beginnings. Your birthright is your birth certificate. Who holds your birthright? You got a copy of it. They put a stamp on it, a seal on it, and they told you it was yours, and it is yours. But they only gave you a replica of what it is that they hold that is real. Still know your word? See, this is not a let my people go message. This is a wake up, arise, for the light is come. This is a eyes open, souls filled. This is a now is the time message.
Okay.
See, because from the beginning, he showed us what they did.
Mm-hmm.
But we read it, in the church.
Right.
We read it and we preached it.
Right.
Oh my goodness. And we preached something so totally different than what God was revealing and showed us and said that it was already written. And yet they caused us to live from this and to say that, whenever you don't have what you need, you just wait on it. Just cry out unto the Lord. He'll hear your cry. He'll show you the place. He'll open your eyes and he'll show you where you need to go to get what you need. No! Jacob was on a journey.
And may I just say this? I believe the reason why we were able to continue on with that narrative is because we weren't the first ones that preached it to us. You understand what
Exactly.
I'm saying? Who preached it to us or who gave it to us first gave us that. So we, not knowing who we were, not understanding and realizing, even though they realized who we were, knew who we were, they had to give us something to keep us discombobulated, to keep us not knowing who we were, to keep us in a place of us not understanding our true identity.
Keep you in a place of believing what they wanted you to believe.
And we didn't have enough sense to go and read it for ourselves and get the true understanding, the true meaning of it, so that we could now give it the way it's supposed to be given. Thank God for Jesus. Thank God for this time. But all before, we didn't have it in us in order, or we did. We just didn't realize that we had it in us to say what was, how it truly was.
Now let me give you this, and it will literally, this is, if you were sleeping on today, this is the part that's going to really shake you. It's going to really wake you.
Mm-hmm.
It was never about your race. Even they knew that.
Right.
That's why they kept changing your identity over and over again, because they never wanted you to know that it wasn't about race.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't want you to know your culture. You are the only one who changes. Mexican culture don't change. Japanese culture don't change. Korean culture don't change. Indian culture don't change. Anybody else, any other nationality from any other parts of this world, they are their culture. You are the only culture that they have identified in so many different ways, and they want you to think that it's about your race. They never want you to get into your culture. Because if you get into your culture will not change.
All right.
But races changing. You're not in a race, people of God. See, kingdom is a culture. Kingdom has a culture.
Yes, it does.
Somebody better say something.
Yes, it does.
You are a culture, and you have a culture. It's okay. Like you have to say, this is for everybody. White has a culture. Nobody is changing nobody else's culture.
That's right. Can't. It's impossible.
The only people whose identity is being changed constantly is the natives.
All right.
Are the natives. And what they know is that they took it from you and then turned it around to make you believe that it never was you. Listen at what Jacob said here. He said, if God had not been with me, y'all come on, somebody better get it. If God had not been with me, then you would have surely sent me away empty-handed. But now that my eyes are open, now that my soul is filled, now that I know what it is you're holding, that's my worth. Somebody better say something out there. Now that I know what you're holding, I'm going to break your bond and get my bond.
All right. Yes.
It's all right. Listen at what he said. I like this.
Okay.
Listen. He said, but God has seen, and last night he rebuked you. Last night was the last night for a lot of you.
Thank you, Jesus.
When you lie down and you slept in the unknown, now you know. You woke up this morning, light has come.
Right.
It has been here. If we're going to preach kingdom, we have to get you into the kingdom culture.
All right.
See, the kingdom culture is for every culture. Come on.
All right.
Like Hannah said, it was for all. It's for every culture. But we've only been teaching to a race of people. We've been preaching to a race of people. You ran your last race.
All right.
Last night.
Yes, thank you.
Last night. He rebuked them. Last night. And the only way that you are going to make this true is to get back what's already yours. Take back what's already yours. You get your birth certificate and you look at it real good. That birth certificate is what took you out of your worth. Your birth certificate, that certificate of paper, without your knowledge, is what took you out of your birthright, which is your worth. And the bond, if you only knew your worth, if you really only knew your worth, you would hurry, get that certificate, and you need to have that certificate authenticated. You don't want a seal on it. You want it to be authenticated. You need to get back into your own identity and stop letting them change your worth. Stop letting them make you succumb to the welfare lines, the projects. Come on, y'all. It's just real this morning. It's real. Stop letting them make you succumb to their system and understand that kingdom culture. I believe whenever you get in your culture, kingdom will not be difficult then for you to receive. It won't be difficult for you to believe. Because kingdom, and I understand that dealing with kingdom, you're still yet dealing with the world system. And since we've been born into that, since we grew up in it, we learned it, it was put in us. Of course, now trying to hear something different and to believe something different in order to make a difference, sometimes it's difficult for you. But I promise you, it was already written. He already showed us. He showed us our beginning from the beginning. And it's in the book of beginnings. You let your identity go. Not you per se, but those that was before us. They allowed our identity to be taken away from the good that they had, that they gave to others. And then others took your good, our good, and turned it against us, and we became slaves unto them, with them using our goods against us. It's all right this morning. You might be quiet, but it's the truth. It is written. Stop letting people change your worth. Stop letting a system. Stop letting a president. Stop letting a government. Stop letting a society. Stop letting a community. Stop letting things in this world, people, spirits, places, change your worth. Get in your culture. And I'm going to end it like this. And then I'm going to let old Daddy do over here. She might have something that she wants to say. She's looking. But I'm serious about all of this on this morning. And I stand flat-footed in this. I shall not be moved.
All right.
I'm going to leave you with this. And I promise Daddy, if she's going to say something that sparked me to say something else, I'm done. This is what I want you to do. I want you to listen to the president of those states that are united. And I want you to hear in making, just to let you know, the day after Thanksgiving, it's your day. It's your holiday. He's made November the 26th Native American Day. That's your day. I am taking off. I am celebrating. I am in place. I am in culture. And let me say this. If you would listen to what the president had said concerning the Native Americans, then you will understand your worth and who you are. He talked about the hardship that they endured, the things that were taken from them, etc., etc. Did not God show us that in Genesis 31? Did not Jacob tell Laban, I've been with you for 20 years. I've worked. I suffered the loss. You made me pay for things that I shouldn't have even paid for. But it was all right. And then I worked for you. So many years, 16 for your daughters, and then for your flocks. See, what Jacob did was, Jacob got tired of the foolishness. He knew he had to journey on. He knew he couldn't stay in that situation and in that condition. So Jacob took everything that was his. And he left. Go get your birthright, take it, and leave. See, if you take that away from them, when Laban came back and he found out that Jacob was gone and took his daughters, which was not his daughters anymore, took his daughters. Please go into Genesis. Read up on this. Read how wicked Laban was. Read how Laban, how in order to get Jacob to remain under him. Read the different things that he did. The same things that have been done. Did not Solomon say there was nothing new under the sun? It happened before and it's happening again. Just read it so you will be aware, so that you will be able to see and to know what you're living in, who's doing what, and to understand that you have to move into your culture. I will not stop stressing this. You have to move into your culture. You're not a race. You are a culture. Find it, get into it, remain in it, and you're going to know that's where your worth resides. Your worth is in your culture.
Amen. I really Nothing to really add to this other than the fact whenever I initially heard what was going to be spoken about and then what she had said. The prayer that was made in this house this morning by Hannah was something that God had allowed me, or a portion of it was something that God had dropped into my spirit, allowed me to meditate on this week, as far as, you remember, like way back when, and it's not even way back when because I'm not that old, but how it has always been for my life going through and my upbringing, whatever was said by my mother, by my father, by somebody in authority, that was that. Now, whenever things are said, even by people in authority, it's never really what was said. It could always be manipulated. It could always be twisted. If my mom told me no, I understood no meant no. I understood it to the point where I didn't even ask why. I didn't even want to know why, because I understood if I had anything to say behind what was already said by my mother, the final say so, then I understood there was a consequence that was going to come behind what I said. So what God had got me to the place of understanding is this: whenever she had said, "You have changed my worth," people have in this society, in this government, and these systems, as we call them, or we understand them to be, God has already spoken. He's already said things, and he meant the things that he's spoken and he has said. But through manipulation, through ideology, through opinion, catering to emotions, maybe.
Ideology, yes.
Catering to emotions, then what has already been stated, now we've twisted and we've manipulated. But what was said in prayer was, thank God for the boldness. Thank God for still being in a place where no actually means no, and yes means yes. It's not no and maybe, or yes and maybe, but whatever is said by God is meant. And we got a few choices, but the intended purpose for what God has said is for purpose. It is for purpose fulfillment. It is for kingdom. It's for culture. Everything that was spoken on, for you to understand who you are, your identity, and you and us to be able to stand in that, not be shaken, not be moved, not have somebody else come and tell us something differently and we gravitate to that or we hold on to that, but being firmly rooted and grounded in who I am, whose I am, and understanding that from the culture that I'm in, there's already things set in place. And they're set in place to keep me on the right track. It's set in place to keep me focused. It's set in place for me to do what I have to do to accommodate and also to accomplish the will of God for my life. So that's the direction. But I thank God for the direction of God. But that's where my mind went to whenever it was spoken. It's not for us to change the worth of God. And that's... We can't. But we've gotten so bold in our thoughts and in our pride that we think that we can. But what God says, he means.
Man, she said something, and I'm done for real.
Okay.
What keep coming up is what you have to understand.
Mm-hmm.
When God rebukes somebody,
okay,
he said that was the last night. Last night, he rebuked you, not you. He rebuked the system that holds you. Last night was the last night. Today is a brand new day. Today is a new dawning. Today your eyes should be open.
and we go back to the way God intended. We go back to the way God would have it.
Yes!
From the very beginning, the book of beginnings. We go back to that beginning.
My
and
God.
we journey from that forth.
Woo! Go ahead and close things.
Well, we invite you. Yeah, we invite you.
God.
We thank you for tuning in with us. We thank you for your time. We hope that you're listening. We hope that you're taking in what was said, and we hope you go and do what things needs to be done in order for you to understand and know your purpose, and you can start walking in your purpose. We invite you to encounter everything that God has for you on your journey through going on our website, searching for various ones, and interacting with us on our Twitter, our Facebook, and also our YouTube channels. We also have an Instagram channel. Any questions, comments, concerns, we ask you just to leave them down somewhere in one of those platforms, and we surely will get back to you. And God bless you all.